Hello, welcome back to RetroBreak and welcome to the 10 best retro games that I played in 2020. And this is actually the 4th year in a row that I've done this kind of video, and this year I've actually been a little bit better than I was last year because I've got the stats here. Last year, Backloggery told me that I actually bought 348 new games, and this year, bear in mind it's only the 8th of December, so all of this could go downhill fast by the end of the year, but as of the 8th of December 2020, this year I've only bought 288 games. And before we start the video as well, you may have noticed on my sleeve here, yes, Zavi has very kindly sent me over this amazing jumper and also this amazing t-shirt from their new Mario range. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check out their site, and if you want 20% off any clothing throughout the entire store, then use the code BREAK20. Now on with the video. So the first game I've got here, and one right from the start of the year, right back in January, before we even knew what this year had in store for us. This is a game called Tobu DX for the Game Boy Color. It's a brand new game, but it is definitely one of my all-time favourite games on the Game Boy now. It really is good. I'll put a link to the review that I did in January in the description, and I'll put a little bit of gameplay over here so you can get a good idea as to what it's about. It's just such an addictive little game, and I highly recommend going and checking it out. I don't know whether you can actually get the physical release anymore, but I know the ROM is definitely available online, and I highly recommend it. Like I said, not just one of my favourite games from this year, but one of my favourite games on the system. And that brings me on to the next two games, which are another two brand new Game Boy releases. I can't believe how good this year has been for the original Game Boy, and these two games are definitely the highlights of the homebrew scene for me personally this year. Let me know down in the comments what Game Boy homebrew games you guys have played this year, and let me know which ones I should check out. I've done a lot of videos on Game Boy homebrew throughout the year, so I will put all of them in the description in a nice playlist for you to go and watch. These two are definitely my favourites so far. I don't have Jetpack DX yet, which will be coming in the next few days, so fingers crossed I'll get to play that before the end of the year, and maybe in next week's video I can give you my first impressions of it. But these two games, both made in Game Boy Studio, both very different even though they're both RPGs. Quest Arrest is quite a simple game in comparison to Dragonborne, but it's really fun. I love all of the different outcomes that you can get. I love all of the different scenarios in the game. It's just a really well thought out game, and if you haven't Evercade, coming very soon is an actual full colour version of the game, so I really hope they also release that one on the Game Boy Color next year as well. That's something I'm really looking forward to. And the second game here, this one is Dragonborne, a full-featured RPG for the Game Boy. Really blown away by this one, and the video's actually gone on to become one of my most watched videos of the year, so if you want to see my full review of Dragonborne for the Game Boy, definitely check out the description for a video on that one. So most of the other games in this video are all going to come from my recent trip to Japan back in March, thankfully just before coronavirus really kicked off. I still can't believe how lucky I was that I managed to go there and come back and not have to experience any of the travel restrictions or anything. I am so lucky, and I picked up, if you've been on my channel all year, you know I picked up hundreds of games while I was out there. And yeah, I just picked up so much amazing stuff that it was so difficult to narrow it down to just 10 favourites that I've played since I came back from Japan. So the one I've got here, and another one that I did a review of on my channel, this is Rockman and Forte for the Wonder Swan. One of the most interesting games in the whole Mega Man franchise. This is one that I had wanted to play for years and years, but because it's so expensive and because it's so hard to find, I honestly never thought I would even be able to own it personally. So when I saw this one in Mandarake Galaxy at Nakano Broadway, I just snapped it up straight away. I couldn't turn it down, and the game is actually really fun as well. I really did enjoy playing through this one earlier in the year. Now this game, although it's a Japanese game, I didn't actually pick it up in Japan because surprisingly, even though it was on my list of games to find, I couldn't actually find it in any of the game shops in the whole of Akihabara. I don't know if I just wasn't looking hard enough, but I ended up picking this one up when I came back, and that game is Umihara Kawase for the DS. And I'm sure if you've been on the channel this year, you will have heard me talking quite a bit about this game, and that's because early next year I do plan on doing a full retrospective on the series. I'm really looking forward to it. I've got one more game to get in the series, and then I've finally got them all and I can finally start working on my retrospective. But out of all of the Umihara Kawase games that I've played so far, this one is definitely the best of the bunch. It contains the original SNES game as well as the PS1 game and a few different modes and stuff for the DS. It plays really well. It's just the perfect game if you like puzzle platformers. Highly, highly recommend it, although it is quite difficult to track down these days. Now this next one, my god, I was so excited when I found this one. This is a game that I've wanted for many, many years, ever since I found out what the PC Engine was. This is Soldier Blade, and it's actually the last game that I needed to complete my Superstar Soldier series on the PC Engine. This one is by far the hardest one to find, the most expensive one. So when I found this one in, I think it was Trader 2 in Akihabara, I just couldn't pass it up. I had to get it. I know I'm going to say that about a lot of these games, but I was so fortunate that I had the money to spend on some of these more pricey purchases that I've been after for a long time, and I did not regret it one bit. This game is outstanding. It really pushes the PC Engine to its absolute limits. It's so fast, it's full of arcade action, and definitely the best game in the series for me as well. Really recommend this one if you've got a PC Engine, and I think it was on the PC Engine Mini as well, so if you've got a PC Engine Mini then you can also play it that way, which is a hell of a lot cheaper. So I'm actually including 2 games for this next one. I've lost track of what number it is, but they're not really in any particular order anyway. These are just the best games that I've played this year out of all the retro pickups that I've got. So these are Gussun Oyoyo S and simply Gussun Oyoyo, I think that's what it's called. Anyway, these 2 games kind of play like the puzzle mode in Tetris Plus, which is one of my favourite games of all time. So when I found out there was a whole game based around that concept, I just had to try and track these down. There's a few more in the series as well, and I'm really hoping to get them all by the end of next year, and then I can do a series review on the Gussun series. I'm sure that'll get like 10 views because I doubt hardly anyone on YouTube is even interested in these games, but I really do enjoy them. So please let me know in the comments down below if you've ever heard of these games, and let me know if you've ever heard of them apart from the videos in which I've talked about them before. That would be really interesting. I hadn't heard of them until I picked this one up on a whim in Akihabara earlier in the year, and then when I came back I picked up the Super Famicom one to go along with it. They're actually surprisingly very, very similar games, so don't really think if you can't find the Saturn one it's not worth picking this one up, because they're both really good, they're both very similar, and they both also get extremely difficult really early on, so it's a game that you have to put in a lot of time and effort in order to become good at it. But I'll save that for my full video in the future, but definitely recommend these games. So back on the Sega Saturn now, and another game that I was so excited to get. I did already have the prequel to this game, but like Superstar Soldier, the sequel was always just out of my reach. It was always just a bit too expensive and I couldn't justify it. But while I was in Japan, I finally managed to find it. This is DoDonPachi, the sequel to the amazing DonPachi. This one is just amped up to 11. I guess you could say it's one of the first examples of a true bullet hell shooter, and it really goes to show what bullet hell means. You really can't get much crazier than this. I absolutely loved playing it when I came back from Japan, and actually now I've got a nice new gaming monitor over there. I might actually hook it up later and turn the screen on its side, because this game, like the prequel, has the ability to play in the arcade resolution and turn the screen sideways. So if you play it with a flipped screen on the side, you get the whole vertical view of the game. So really looking forward to trying that out again actually later. Doing this video has just reminded me how good this actually is. So let me know in the comments if you've ever played DoDonPachi before. Definitely one of my favourite vertical scrolling shooters ever, and I was also really lucky to actually be able to find the arcade game itself while I was in Taito Hey Arcade in Akihabara, I think. So actually playing this game in the arcade and then being able to pick up my own version of it on the Sega Saturn, I was just the happiest man alive that day. I really was, and this is definitely one of my favourite retro games of all time. Truly an incredible game. 2 games left now. I've got one more retro game and then one slightly less retro game that I picked up a bit later on in the year that I will get to in a minute. But this one, I just wanted to bring this up because if you remember seeing my video after I came back from Japan, there was one thing that I wanted, but we didn't really have space for it. So I can't pick it up at the minute. It's down there in all the mess. But if I point the camera down, you might be able to see it. Right there in the corner, you can't really see it. right there in the corner. You can just about make it out, the N64 in the box there. But anyway, Wave Race 64 is a great game, and I need to stop buying games, but Wave Race 64 is such a great game, and it was so fun to finally be able to play it in 60Hz, which means it was silky smooth, and to play it on the Japanese N64 the way it was meant to be played originally. Really cool game, and it's one of my favourite games on the system anyway, so to finally be able to play it at the NTSC speeds, it was like playing a brand new game, honestly, compared to what I was used to on our PAL systems. So I really enjoyed playing that one this year, and I'm sure a lot of you watching really enjoy this game as well, so let me know in the comments. And that brings me on to the final game, and this one, surprisingly, is a PlayStation 3 game. This is Driver San Francisco, and while I was actually shopping in my favourite retro game shop, well, favourite local retro game shop anyway, Vintage Gamer, I came across this behind the counter, and it was only 20 quid, and I'd heard a lot of good things about the game, mostly after watching Nick Robinson, Babylonian's video on it a few years ago. But yeah, really actually enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would. I always knew that the mechanic of kind of going out of his body and into other cars and flying around always sounded really interesting to me, but it actually holds up really well today. It almost feels like a modern game, so I was really enjoying playing through this, and I really want to go back and try and finish it actually. So there we go, that was 10 of my favourite retro games that I've played this year and picked up this year as well. So let me know down in the comments what are 10 retro games that you all watching have played and enjoyed this year. I would really love to know. I've got 2 more videos coming out this year, including a really exciting Christmas video as well, so I really hope you're all looking forward to that. That's it for now though. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, subscribe. Please check out Patreon if you want to support me some more behind the scenes and get access to loads of behind the scenes videos. But that's it for now guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next week for the next episode. Goodbye!